What's it like when one of your friends on death row is led away to be executed?
Well, you spend, years and years and months and hours of every day with a person. You talk every day, hey, what are you doing? And, let's eat something, let's make something to eat. And, he eventually comes by one day and is like, yeah, I gotta go, man. And when he leaves and turns his back and walks down them steps, he ain't coming back. They're gonna kill him.
About an hour's drive south of Chicago in the state of Indiana is one of America's oldest and most notorious maximum security prisons. The majority of the 1,900 inmates here are serving long sentences for unspeakable crimes.
And when I came at you, I wasn't just going to stick you an inch. I was going to run something all the way through you. Get out of here!
12 are due to be executed on the orders of the state. For 2 weeks, I was given privileged access to this dark and forbidding world.
I do deserve to be executed. Bottom line, I ain't gonna candy coat it. I deserve to be executed.
Welcome to Indiana's state prison.
Thank you.
My introduction to the prison was dramatic. The man who runs it, Superintendent Bill Wilson, agreed to take me to death row.
So this is actually the entrance?
This is the actual entrance, and it's 2 floors. We only have 12 men on the row right now.
You have to sign yourself in?
Mm-hmm.
The superintendent comes to death row every week to check on how the inmates are coping.
Superintendent, these are the pictures of people on death row?
Correct. These are the 12 gentlemen that are on death row, and it shows their cell location so that staff never have to question where they're at. No staff members are allowed on the unit when the offenders are out. So the offenders actually will secure themselves in the cells, and then their cell doors will be closed or opened as they need to come in or out.
Do you like any of these people?
They're all different in many ways, and I am respectful of who they are, what they are. Would I call them my friends? No, but there's some characters here that have some personality characteristics that you would say are likable.
He knows them all by name, and they know him.
McManus, it always amazed me how clean that cell is. Keep it up,
kid. A lot of time in here.
I know.
Oh. Hello.
Staying out of trouble?
Yeah.
All right. Wilkes, how's your eyes? You been over to medical at all?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm all right. How are you?
Just 1 second. How you been?
I'm all right. You?
I'm doing all right. How you doing?
Hi.
Is tension high?
Not for me.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right. Richie?
What's up?
All right.
What's all this?
Mr. Ritchie's wife, I believe, is from England.
Which part of England is she from?
St. Albans.
Uh-huh, in Hertfordshire.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I met her about 4 years ago on a pen pal, and we hit it off instantly. And she came over, visited, couldn't get enough, and married me.
How often do you get a chance to see her?
Every weekend.
Do you mind doing this?
No, not at all.
Yes. It is very, very unconventional, though, because the end game in this relationship is one that you know and she knows.
Well, yeah, kind of, because a lot of guys can get off death row. A lot of us are getting off death row. But cases like mine and like another gentleman back here, you know, we didn't kill no women or kids. We were charged with shooting a police officer, and they just don't let guys like us, no matter if you got good issues in your case or not, legal issues to let you off death row, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
She knows that, and she married you.
I know. I found something now. See, I was a stupid kid at 19 and 20. I made very poor decisions. I would make decisions. I would do things without thinking about them, and I didn't give a damn about the consequence at all. That kid, to me now, 32 years old, that kid's gone. I'm not saying I'm rehabilitated. You know.
You're not saying that?
No, I'm not. But I am
Why
saying,
not?
because I'd be bullshitting you. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I'm the kind of guy that does need to be in prison.
Why are you the kind of guy who needs to be in prison?
Because I'm the kind of guy, if I get fired from a job and I can't find a job, I'll do it the legal way, try to get a job, and I can't find a job, and I can't pay my bills, I'll go get a gun and I'll pay my bills. And I won't think nothing about it. It won't bother me at all.
You've described the person you are, but how do you see your life looking down the line? Where does it go? Where does it end up?
Either in a box or doing a life sentence in population. That's my choices right there. Doing a life sentence or being in a box. And I gotta watch my wife grow old through these bars.
Out in the general population, convicts are allowed yard time, 2 hours recreation every day. Save for taking showers and meals, this is their only opportunity to mix and to make allies.
Have you been here a long time?
27 years.
How many?
27 years.
27 years.
I was heading to the Administrative Segregation Unit with Lieutenant Gillespie. The men here are among the prison's most dangerous.
This is Sergeant Fagan. This is his unit.
Stay down here with the flag, folks. Get out of here!
Many of the offenders here are gang members, drug dealers, and sexual predators. Everything they do is monitored and carefully controlled.
Could you tell me what this list of names is all about?
All right. Every cell house in Indiana State Prison has one of these. The idea behind this is to make sure we know where everyone's at, what they're doing, who they are, why they're here, etc. For example, if someone would accidentally take out 508 and 509 together, and let's say 508 owes 509 money, so 509's mad about it, and they get put in the shower together and the door's locked, and he has a weapon on him, 508 could lose his life. Like that. Just because someone made that mistake. So that's why it's important to really understand this board.
Do you feel that you must be constantly vigilant?
These guys have nothing but time. Okay, we're going home, so we're thinking about going to dinner with the wife, going to dinner with the mom, whatever. These guys have nothing but time. They're sitting here, and these guys, they're smart. They don't forget. So let's say you made them mad 2 weeks ago. You forgot all about it. They don't. So let's say you're sitting here minding your business, doing something, come up behind you and assault you. Yeah, you got to be awake. You got to be on your toes.
The offenders in this unit are locked down for 23 hours a day. And when they're allowed out for their 60-minute break, they're kept apart in individual steel cages. One of the men is 38-year-old Ronald L. Sanford. By any measure, and in any prison community, his is an exceptional story.
When did you come here to Indiana State Prison?
Oh, well, I came here in 1989 at the age of 15 years old. I was actually convicted of the crime that I'm here for at the age of 13 years old.
And what was the crime?
Double homicide. So I committed a double homicide at the age of 13 years old. At the age of 15, my case had ran its course through the court, and I was sitting here to this prison in 1989.
A double homicide,
yes, sir.
At the age of 13?
13, yes, sir.
That's very, very young.
It's tragic, to say the least, and it is very young. Absolutely, it's unheard of. You know, wow, it's unspeakable, to say the least. Even reflecting on it, almost 25 years later, in August it'll be 25 years since that crime took place. It's still very vivid. It's still very poignant. It still resonates, and it still has the same amount of tragic elements involved in it now as it did then, and it will always be with me for the rest of my life. I always say it's like an albatross around my neck. No matter where I go or what I do for the rest of my life, it'll always be with me.
What were the circumstances which led up to the incident which led you in prison at the age of 15?
Me and a friend had basically planned to get money to go to a fair, and to do so we're going to cut grass, and we went to a home basically, and they said they didn't want their grass cut, and rather than continue on the vein and go to the next home, we decided to push into the home essentially, and it ended in a double homicide. It's that simple. And for our complicity in that crime, I was sentenced to 170 years, 170.
You got a sentence of 170 years.
Yes, sir.
However you cut that, you are not going to get out of here.
I'm eligible for parole when I turn 100 years old.
Have you ever thought about all the things that you have missed that other 15-year-olds go through as part of their normal lives?
Absolutely. I've never been to the prom. I've never driven a car. I've never had a driver's license. I've never filed tax returns. I've never been on an airplane. I've never traveled abroad. Should I continue? My life has been lived in this prison, and it seems as though I've been in this prison so long that I've never been free. 25 years in prison, you know, it's a long time.
Especially when you come in at the age of 15.
Yeah, really.
Ariel, thank you so much for talking to me. Thank you for taking the time.
I appreciate you.
My first meeting with Sanford was a shock, but there were more disturbing cases at Indiana State Prison. One of the oddities of the American prison system is that an inmate can spend 20 years on death row exhausting the appeals process before he's executed. In all that time, convicts are confined to this cell block and have little contact with the rest of the prison. Paul McManus killed his wife and 2 young daughters.
Mr. McManus, the first thing I noticed about your cell that is terribly clean, very different from any of the others.
Right.
Why is that?
I feel if I don't use it in a month, then I probably don't need it.
Yeah, but it's more than that, isn't it? It's particularly clean.
Well, me personally, I don't read or write, so I have a lot of time on my hands. So I clean because I don't write letters, I don't read books. There's only so much on TV you can watch before they show repeats, so it gives me a lot of time. So I just take pride in cleaning my cell.
Was your life before you came to prison very similar? Were you a very tidy person then?
Not so much. I worked a lot, so I was always busy, so I like to stay busy. It keeps my mind, so it works both ways, I guess. You know, I keep busy in here, but I've pretty well done all I can do in here. I might have to move to a different cell and do the same thing, but I've been here over a decade, so I'm just now getting it where I like it.
Does being on death row take a physical, emotional toll on you?
Oh, it's definitely up and down. Definitely. Now, I did weigh 250 pounds almost 2 years ago, and now I weigh 166. Now, I have pictures of them if you would like to see them. I got them right here, as a matter of fact.
Yes.
And you see the difference.
So this is...
it's all me.
This is all you. So you lost a lot of weight.
Right. It's you know, it's depression a little bit, you know, and it's also just, I mean, it's like I said, it's a roller coaster. It's up and down.
McManus sees more of Indiana State Prison than the other men on death row. He's a diabetic and is allowed a daily visit to the prison hospital. The authorities must treat him, although they will, in all probability, put him to death one day.
Well, here we are, out of death row and into the sunlight. Is this the only chance you get to mix with the rest of the general prison population?
Yes, we don't have a lot of contact with them, so it is nice to be able to come out and see people that you've maybe been locked up with that are not on the road no more. And every once in a while, you can, you know, have a little bit of contact with that person, just for a brief second.
Were you on any kind of medication, like insulin, before you came?
No,
before you came to prison?
Absolutely none. Zip. Now, you know, I take quite a few pills and the insulin shot. It all comes down to the food and also how you know, you have your ups and downs where you gain weight and then stuff like that. So, I mean, that does play a factor. All my friends I brought with me. What's nice about, well, if there is a nice thing about being a diabetic, is that you do get to get out and come over to the hospital daily, and then to be around regular people, it's nice.
Yeah.
Put you back to normal. All right.
All right, thank you.
See you later.
The rest of the prison is distinctly different from the oppressive gloom of death row. Lunchtime in cell block C. Prisoners have a chance to spend time in the open air. They can also earn privileges. Some have jobs and can request a haircut twice a month. All the barbers are convicts. Rick Parrish is serving 3 life sentences, plus 10 years.
I must say, walking into this place is one of the most extraordinary experiences I've had for a long time. You wouldn't have thought that this was a barbershop or in a maximum security prison.
Well, we work hard to keep it unique in here because we like the atmosphere. We like being able to come in here and relax. It's neutral territory for gangs, for officers. I mean, if you come to the barbershop and you're a gang member, would you start trouble with a guy that's standing here with a pair of shears in his hand like this?
No, I wouldn't.
I suspect not, too.
That's why there's no trouble in here.
There's still, though, this feeling of unreality about people with instruments like these in a maximum security prison.
I've been here 37 years. We've never had an incident in the barbershop. We've never had an incident with the shears. Never had a problem.
You've been here since the 70s. That's a long time.
January 75.
Long time?
Yeah. Well, you know, if you do it a day at a time, like most of us do, you do time a day at a time. Sometimes an hour at a time, sometimes a minute at a time, whatever it takes to get through. Then you look up one day and 37 years have went by. There you go, young man.
All
you
right.
have a good day.
Thank you.
Rick, what are we looking at here?
A little history of the penitentiary and the barber shop. The shop was remodeled in August of '76, and that's the first picture taken in this
There.
shop. Yeah.
Is that you there?
Yes, it is.
So this is your wall?
Yeah, I'm all over the wall because it is my wall. And this.
And you're pumping iron here?
Yeah, that was probably 20 years ago when I was eating anything that didn't move and pumping iron at the same time.
So this is a catalog of your life in pictures?
Yeah, because you can see the progress from what I looked like in '76 up here to where I'm at right now. Here, that's the newest picture.
What emotions do they invoke?
Wishing I was out there doing it right. Wishing I could start all over again at 29, 30 years of age and not make the mistakes I made. But you get past, after 37 years, you better be past all that. You know, have your head screwed on, you know, make the best of what you have.
But the pictures are constant reminders.
Yeah, what was. You know, that's like, you know, all of us that got here were violent criminals to get here.
What was your violent crime, Rick?
I'm in here for kidnap robbery. I pulled a robbery, and the car I had wouldn't start, so I commandeered a vehicle, and there was 3 people in it.
All the pictures here, you have it on, mounted on cardboard?
Yeah, it's on cardboard, so if I ever get out, I can take it with me. That's what it's for. I fold it up and take it with me as a reminder. You don't want to go back.
Back down 200. Camera crew on 200. Camera crew.
I went back to the administrative segregation unit to see Ronald L. Sanford again. His story haunted me. A killer when he'd barely entered his teens.
RL, hi. How you doing?
I'm all right, yourself?
Good. How do you get accustomed to life in this environment?
It takes some getting used to. It's tough. There was a young man on the range, a very young man, maybe 19, 20 years old. He's exhibiting psychosis, and they took him to see the psychologist because he's having trouble adapting. This is an abnormal environment for a human being, certainly. You know, these are essentially cages, and to think that we stay in them 24 hours, 23 hours a day, come out for an hour a day, it's taxing.
May I have a look in your cell about?
Absolutely.
Have a look at some of the books?
Absolutely. You absolutely may. So.
Yes, Lieutenant, would you mind opening up? I'd just like to have a look.
Yes, sir. You can take whatever down you want to take down.
And war against the weak, what's that about?
Eugenics.
Eugenics?
Yes, sir. America's attempt to make a master race, essentially.
And this one is the tree of life. What that's about?
Yes, it's Kabbalah, actually. It's more metaphysics, essentially. Those deep questions about man, where he comes from, where we're going, and who we are, essentially, yes.
I see that you have, in addition to your books, you have some of your own writing on the walls here. Strength, well-being, and health.
Yes. Just something I try to focus on. If there's anything I want to stay my mind on, as I always say, is something progressive. So being strong and having a good disposition and being in good health are certain things I definitely want to focus on.
And you have written here, no man is your enemy, no man is your friend, every man is your teacher.
Yes, sir.
I'm also standing here, and I think these are the parameters of your existence.
Existence, absolutely. These four walls.
It's a pretty isolating place.
It really is, if you see it as such. It's isolated only to the extent that you think it is. You know, I mean, those books allow for a great escape and for to be able to leave the confines of the wall. So,
but I'm only in here for a few minutes, and I feel it as such. I feel it. I feel the isolation.
Everybody in this building feels the confinement that we're suffering here. You know, you put an animal in a cage for too great of a length of a time, it goes crazy. You know, how much more so humans? You know, so.
This is what Sanford looked like when he came here at the tender age of 15. His murder of two elderly women in 1987 netted him the meager sum of $5. On that vile act, he must reflect for the rest of his life. Prison life moves to the relentless and monotonous beat of an unchanging routine. Some inmates get the chance to relieve the tedium by working. At the end of his shift, Rick Parrish, the barber, returns to what's called an honor cell, to which only the most trusted prisoners are assigned.
And they're all two-man cells?
Two-man cells.
Yeah.
This is my cell here.
Rick, who opens the doors? Is that controlled
by the computer? Up in the office there's a computer, controls all the doors, controls our water.
May I come into your cell?
Sure, please.
Thank you. And this is your cellmate?
Mike.
Hi, Mike. I'm Trevor McDonald.
Nice to meet you.
How long have you been sharing a cell with Rick?
Oh, about 2.5 years. Isn't that about right, Rick?
Yeah, that's correct.
So which is your side?
Right
this is your side. It strikes me, too, that there has to be a rather clear division of what's yours and what's Mike's.
That's Mike's cabinet over there.
Yeah.
And he has all his commissary and stuff in there. This is my cabinet here. And I have my commissary and things in here. But in general, we're sharing a space.
You have to try to give the other person their privacy. If he's doing something and he's up walking around, I try to stay over there. And he does the same for me. You know, just, you know, try to take turns doing things, because it is close quarters.
So this is an improvement from any other part of the prison?
You've been in a regular cell house. You've seen how they live over there. You've heard the noise. You hear how quiet it is. It stays quiet like this most times. And sure, you have to put up with another human being, but it's worth it. It's worth the sacrifice.
Rick's honor cell does not insulate him from one stark reality. Death row is within shouting distance in the same block.
What is it like to live so close to death row?
Well, I just block it out. I don't pay any attention to it. I'm a barber, and I won't even go over there and cut hair because I don't want to get to know any of them. You know, you lose enough friends through attrition in here as it is without them being on death row. So I don't even want to get familiar with them.
Why don't you want to get familiar with them?
Because you get friendly with them, you get to know them, and they get executed, you know, you've lost another friend.
Does the mood change perceptibly just before an execution, in the days before an execution?
Yeah, it gets even quieter. You know, everybody knows the last one, I think, was Wiggles. He stopped here, hollered down through there, "I'll see you, fellas."
He said that?
Yeah, he hollered out. Everybody's usually awake. We used to, midnight, we used to beat on the bars.
And how many times has that happened since you've been here? How many executions have there been since you've been here?
I've never kept track. Like I said, I try not to dwell on it, so keeping track of them would, there'd be too many as far as I'm concerned.
Rick Parrish says he's never kept track of the number of executions. Someone on death row obviously has. Every one of the 12 men on death row will one day be told the date and time of his execution. That common fate inspires unusual friendships. John Stevenson was a member of an organized criminal gang. He assassinated 3 people. Benjamin Ritchie, who had met before, killed a police officer.
Hi, how you doing?
Pretty good, man. You been all right?
Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah. How you doing?
Good to see you. Good. You two are in adjoining cells. How long have you been friends?
About 11 years. Since I got here on death row. He was already here when I got here.
How did this friendship come about? What drew you to each other as friends?
Well, just, we got the same interests. I mean, we play our music loud, we play video games, we work out, play basketball, eat together. If shit goes down, we whoop a motherfucker's ass together. That's, you know, that's how our friendship came about.
Does that mean you have a lot in common?
Yeah.
Well, I thought we did.
You're not sure anymore?
No, I'm just kidding.
I don't want you two friends to argue about that.
No, we're not going to argue.
Oh, hell no.
What's it?
No, I mean...
If anything, we always argue, but we've never come to blows over nothing.
No, never.
We'd be like, fuck
That'll
you,
never
fuck
happen.
you, and then half hour later, hey, what we eating tonight? You know, it's over.
Yeah.
It don't matter. It don't mean nothing.
I'm always right in the end, so...
Fuck.
He's the voice of reason. You're the voice of anger, from what you say.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know,
is that right?
He keeps a leash on me, yeah. Like, I'd rather lash out at somebody. Like, when I first met Boyan, he hated me because I was just a straight-up asshole. I'd be in your face, fuck you, you know, come on in the shower and let's fight. And I calmed way down since then. Yeah, most of the police, they couldn't stand my ass. And I got allowed around older cats, and they calmed me down.
From your point of view, what's this friendship based on? We heard from Ritchie what he thought about it.
Trusting in each other, you know. And, you know, basically that's, you know, trust.
Like, if shit goes down, I got his back, he's got mine. See, that's why they moved us, because he got into it with a dude up here, and almost killed him. And the police had to come in and stop it. And after they broke it up and everything, administration got wind that I was going to try to kill the dude because he cut my buddy with a knife. And so they moved me and my buddy Tex here to the back and moved dude up in the front by himself, so nobody could get to the dude. Within the first 2 weeks of being on death row, I watched a man get murdered in front of me, get stabbed up 42 times, dispatched instantly. And that was my wake up to death row. Like, if you come here, you want to be a bully, you want to take shit from people, this is what's going to happen to you. The dude was just butchered.
Although you witnessed something so horrendous, you still sound pretty angry.
But see, here's the thing. If you show any sign of weakness in here, the sharks will circle. I won't be a victim. I'll be one of the sharks.
I think the sharks are going to circle regardless.
average sentence at Indiana State Prison is 52 years. In Britain, that might seem like 2 life sentences, but it's infinitely preferable to having an execution order hanging over your head.
Hello.
Lieutenant Boyan has taken me to E Block to meet one prisoner who has escaped the death penalty.
What's up, Harrison? How you doing? Trevor, this is Offender Harrison. I've known Offender Harrison for probably around 6 years. I knew him here, and also he was on death row before.
How was it that you managed to move from death row, which is not a particularly pleasant environment, to this, which is comparatively much more pleasant?
The court ordered me a new trial, and they gave me years instead of the death penalty. So,
how did you get that new trial?
The judge that was in my trial was biased, so they ordered a new trial. And instead of taking the whole thing, I just went ahead and took the deal, which was 150 years. 150 years? It's a long time, isn't it?
That's a very, very long time indeed.
In other words, I'll die in here. No way I can make out. No way. I'm 62 now. My out date is 66. So there's just no way in the world I can make it out.
There are people who might think that there's not a lot of difference between being on death row and having been given 150 years at the age of 62.
It was like you said, there's still hope there. There's no hope on death row. Once they put you to death, that's it. There's no more wondering what's going to happen. There's no more trying to work your way out of it. There's nothing.
Still, in a way, a kind of death sentence.
It is a death sentence. But you got a lot more freedom out here. And you might as well take the freedom and live your life out here, and having a job and being able to work and go to the chow hall and go to the chapel and do that than to sit up there and just wait to die.
How long were you on death row?
18 and a half years.
What was it like to spend so long knowing that you faced execution?
It was very, very hard. Very hard. It's hard to do it up on X row. Sitting there waiting for your last meal, your last day, not knowing when it's going to come.
Why were you on death row?
They said I killed 3 people. But I was up there for.
You would probably have been executed.
Executed, yes.
Had a date been set for that?
Yes, I had about 2 months.
That was a pretty close-run thing.
Yes.
What was that moment like for you when you heard that you had avoided execution?
It was a great moment. It was a great moment. Even though I still got a lot of time to do, like you said, where there's life, there's hope.
As he said, James Harrison will not leave this prison alive. But he knows he'll never be strapped to a gurney and given a lethal injection just after midnight. Like most of the inmates, Harrison now enjoys the strange freedom of not knowing the date and time of his death. Before leaving the prison at the end of my first week, I asked to see Benjamin Ritchie again. But this time, face to face. In the year 2000, he shot and killed a policeman. At the time, Ritchie was on parole for burglary. With less of the bravado he showed in the company of his friend, I wanted to hear his view of his life and his crime.
Talk me through the incident which led you to be here.
Well, my crime is shooting a police officer and killing him. And it started off, you know, pretty harmless as a theft crime. Me and my friends would ride around and carjack people and take their rims from their cars from them. And my buddy's car was already full, so I decided, let's get a van or a truck and we fill it up with some rims and take it back and we can go sell everything. I got in a high-speed chase and wrecked into a house and jumped out and took off running. I was trying to get away, you know, but the cop was young and he was on my ass. And I thought maybe if I, you know, take my gun out and fire it a couple times, it'd scare him because, you know, he's a Beach Grove police officer. It's kind of a good neighborhood. Like, how many times has he been shot at, you know? You know, if that bullet would have hit just less than half of an inch lower, he'd be alive today. And I'd probably have a long, lengthy prison sentence, but I wouldn't be on death row, man.
How were you apprehended? How were you caught?
Well, I actually got away. I made it back actually a few blocks away to some family's house and a girl I was seeing and got away. And I didn't know I killed him until I got back to the house and seen it on the news, and that just destroyed me. I knew I hit him in the backyard, but I didn't know he was dead, right? I fell asleep. The next thing I know, I wake up and hear my buddy says they're outside. I wake up and it was like in the movies, you see a whole bunch of red dots from their guns going in and out the windows. And I was like, yeah, it's bad, man. I told him go ahead and go out, leave the house. And I didn't know what I was gonna do. I didn't have no gun, I couldn't fight no more, so I just gave up.
What went through your mind when the court pronounced you guilty?
Well, I was trying to portray a tough guy in court, so when they gave me the death sentence, I laughed at them. And the prosecutor told everybody that's the voice of evil, which I would agree at the time, yeah. You know, I deserved the death penalty. I was young and didn't care about anybody at all but myself or anything. And I deserved that sentence at the time. And yeah, I just pretty much laughed at them when they gave it to me. But then, you know, when I was by myself, it really sunk in like, man, you're more than likely going to be executed one day. And it hit me hard, you know. So I put my face in my pillow and, you know what I mean, cried a little bit. And
was it inevitable that sooner or later you would end up in a place like this?
I always knew as a kid I'd probably end up in prison. Yeah. It's weird because when I was a kid, I was fascinated with prison movies. Every time we'd drive by prison, I would wonder, what are those guys doing? What's it like in there? What are they up to? You know what I mean? Why should I care? I'm a kid. Why should I care? But because I just always knew I was going to end up in there because I just had a problem with the rules, with authority. And as you can see, I'm here because of that.
Because you killed the police officer, you face execution. If it does come to that, would you face that moment with deep regret, with remorse, or with defiance?
I would definitely regret it and definitely have remorse. But I'd also have a little defiance, like, why are you killing me? You said killing's wrong, but yet you're premeditatedly strapping me to this table and you're gonna poison me to death. You're gonna kill me. And that's what I would, you know, resent.
So these are the steps which an inmate who is about to be executed would take into this area.
Correct.
Next time, I talk to the man who could be next in line to be executed.
When you sit here now on death row and you reflect on what you did, what do you think?
I deserve to be here.
I meet Rascal the cat.
Well, I expected a male because I put in for a male cat. And then about a month later, I realized it wasn't a boy.
And a killer who never knew his victims.
you were offered money.
Yes.
To kill.
Yes. Yes, sir.
I've never believed in the death penalty myself, but when I think about what you do, I begin to understand why people feel it should be the appropriate sentence for crimes like yours. Do you understand that?
I do deserve to be executed. Bottom line, I ain't gonna candy coat it. I deserve to be executed.
About an hour's drive south of Chicago in the state of Indiana is one of America's oldest and most notorious maximum security prisons. The majority of the 1,900 inmates here are serving long sentences for unspeakable crimes.
And when I came at you, I wasn't just going to stick you an inch. I was going to run something all the way through you.
Camera crew on 200.
12 are due to be executed on the orders of the state.
Hi.
For 2 weeks, I was given privileged access to this dark and forbidding world.
Stealing cookies as a 7-year-old boy in school, turned into a 20-year-old killing a cop, landing himself on death row. It went from stealing cookies to shooting a cop.
Welcome to Indiana's state prison. My second week at the prison began back on death row. The 12 men here are locked in their cells for 23 hours a day. They're given a single hour's recreation. Taking his is Frederick Bear. His crime, the murder of a mother and her young daughter. Bear could be next on the list to be executed.
Is this your exercise routine?
Yeah, this is my recreation right now. You want down, Mama?
And how's the cat?
That's my girl, so.
Looks particularly well fed.
Always.
What's your exercise routine?
Well, it usually consists of the leg press machine or going outside or hitting the weights or sitting there calling somebody, your loved ones and your family on the telephone. You know, or you can just sit up there like I was doing and just writing a letter, writing my girl over in Germany, so.
Is she in Germany doing what?
She's in Germany probably right now getting ready to fix supper. So, her name is Susan, and she's a very beautiful person.
It must be strange having a relationship when you're A, so far away, and when you are in the circumstances that you are.
Ain't gonna sugarcoat it. Most of us probably won't get off death row. We'll be executed, or we'll die from our appeals running out of, you know, whatever health reasons or whatever. I hope maybe one day I might get off. But the reality and the truth of that, I probably won't. There's like 16 levels to death row appeals, from the start all the way to the finish. And that's not including clemency, asking the governor for, you know, please, grace. And
which stage are you at?
I'm on 13. I've been here 7 years. My appeals have been going since then, and I'm kind of rapid on mine. That's what tells me I don't know if I'll get off or not.
It sounds from what you say and what you admit yourself that time is running out.
Yeah, it is. It is. That's the reality of my situation. When your time runs out, you know, you're handcuffed and you're strapped down. They stick a needle in your arm and they kill you. Might sound cold, but that's the reality.
The last man to be given a lethal injection at Indiana State Prison was Matthew Eric Wrinkles. Convicted of killing his wife and 2 relatives, he spent 14 years on death row. On the night of December the 11th, 2009, Wrinkles was put to death in this building. Superintendent Bill Wilson, who presides over all executions at Indiana State Prison, is taking me to its death chamber.
So these are the steps which an inmate who's about to be executed would take into this area.
Correct. There's a process or a time frame in which we do everything. But yes, approximately between 4 and 5, the night of the execution, we would bring the offender over here, and he would be housed in a holding cell until the time of the execution.
As the appointed time for the execution draws nearer, the prisoner is kept under close observation.
This is usually a very quiet time for the offender, though. Some make themselves preoccupied with television. Others just sit here and meditate and are very quiet for the last few hours. My job is one single event, and that's to put this man to death. That's very a surreal moment in time.
Overnight, the state has executed an Indiana man convicted of killing his wife and 2 of her relatives. Matthew Wrinkles died by lethal injection just after 1 this morning. A jury convicted him of killing his wife, her brother, and sister-in-law inside their Evansville home back in 1994. Police say he wore camouflage and face paint when he broke into the home and shot them. About a half dozen people stood outside the Indiana State Prison in Michigan City last night protesting this execution. He did not try to appeal or ask for clemency.
How do inmates react right at this point?
Every execution that I've been a part of, every offender has done it differently. Most have always at this point they've accepted their station, their position, the process, and that's happening. One of them, the first execution that I was ever a part of, the offender turned to us and apologized to us about having to put us in this place. And he basically said, "I'm sorry, you guys have to do this."
Do people resist? I mean, there's not very much to resist with handcuffs all around and being tied up to the gurney.
The only time I've ever had any resistance was one offender was passive. He didn't actually participate in movement. He didn't participate in getting on the bed. So we had to actually carry him from the holding cell and onto the execution bed.
Are there any words exchanged? What do you say?
Well, we do everything we can to make sure that the offender's comfortable. We do talk to him. We make sure that he understands where we're at in the process. We constantly are encouraging him to ask questions or just trying to be there for him. Once he's placed on the gurney, he's allowed to give a final statement. An actual death warrant is read to him so that he understands, again, why he's in this position. And at that point, then, we start the execution process.
Every week, on average, 9 new prisoners arrive at Indiana State Prison. The majority are young men. Many will spend the rest of their lives behind bars.
Are you suicidal? No. Are you sick or weak? No. Take meds? No. Are you being treated for medical, dental, or mental health? No.
Here we go. Yep.
Lieutenant Gillespie takes me to Cell House C, to which some of the new arrivals are assigned. It's the largest block at Indiana State Prison. It holds almost 400 offenders, nearly all convicted murderers.
C. Charles, 23.
Morning. Morning.
This is Sergeant Zimmerman.
How do you do? I'm Trevor McDonald. Hello.
Nice to meet you. He pretty much runs the house.
Yeah.
It's just after lunch, and the inmates are returning to their cells.
I can just see this chap stroking a cat down there.
Yes.
How did he come by that cat?
Well, we have a program, a pet program here at Indiana State Prison that, based on conduct history and each offender can put a request in.
And they come by it as a privilege?
Yes, sir. Oh, definitely a privilege. Oh, yeah. It's not a right, definitely a privilege. And so the thing is, what it does, it gives them a sense of responsibility. Help medicate that, so to speak. You know, that temperament, that stress that they may have throughout the day of not being able to talk to their loved ones or family members. So the cat replaces that which they don't have or lost on the outside.
What's up, Big G?
Oh, they're interested in your cat.
Hello.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm Trevor McDonald. Hello. Nice to meet you.
Dennis Lear?
Yeah. So you've named him Roscoe?
Yeah, it's a she.
Oh, she.
What actually
I'm sorry.
happened-
Forgive me.
I kind of put an order in for her, right?
Yeah.
When you get put on the list for a cat, you ask, they ask you what kind of cat you want, a male or female. I expected a male because I put in for a male cat. So I had bought all this stuff and got it all ready, even named it because I knew what I wanted to name him. And then about a month later, I realized it wasn't a boy. I couldn't change her name then. So that's
So
what
Rascal it was and Rascal it is.
Rascal it was and Rascal it is.
And you think it's changed the way you look at your time here?
Well, it helps me get through my time. You know, like I said, if I have bad days or you just don't think you can take anymore, come home and she starts meowing and you know, she's like my kid. I've raised her since she was a little bitty kitten. And I love her like she's my kid. You know?
You use the word home.
Well, this has been home for the last 24 years, so really, I've been here over half my life, so I'll be 45 in August. I've been here since I was 20.
And how long do you expect to be here?
Well, right now, I get out in November 2040.
2040?
Yeah, 2040. So
that's a long time.
A real long time. I'll be 72 years old. From 20 to 72 is a long time. The worst part is losing the family that you love, all your loved ones. And everybody that ever loved me, that never turned her back on me, those are the ones that are gone now. My mom died just a few years ago, and that was probably the worst thing that ever happened to me in my life.
The pain of that memory must haunt you.
It crushes me every day. I keep a photo of her up on my wall, and she's the first thing I see when I wake up in the morning.
May we have a look at it?
Yes, you can.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This
is my mother.
That's your mother, yes.
This is my mother, and this is a picture that she had sent me of a cross, and she wrote on the back, she says, put this on your wall where you can always see it, love Mom, and I keep that right there.
Dennis Lear will spend more than 50 years in this prison. That's par for the course for most men here. Coming to terms with that seems almost impossible.
There must be people here who stand no chance of ever getting out.
True.
How do they cope with that realization?
I believe it's an individual thing. Once you come to the realization and to the fact that possibility, there's a chance that I'm going to spend all my entire life in the departments of corrections. So those offenders who come into the realization of that and embrace that are the ones that continue to live their lives the best way they can.
You talk about their embracing it. You use the word embracing
Yes.
it. Must be very difficult to do that, to come to terms with the fact that this is it. They're never getting out.
Yeah, some of the offenders I talk to, especially the young ones, and that's the problem that we have with the young offenders, truly have not embraced it. They say it's a time frame within 1 to 5 years, a high end of 8 years, that an offender fully realize of the fact that he's going to be here for the rest of his life.
And do people ever abandon all hope and give up when they realize that this is it, this is the end, they're never getting out?
Yes. Unfortunately, you have offenders, suicides in the Department of Corrections, and it's predominantly those offenders who realize that there's no more hope.
The closest any prisoner comes to life on the outside is the prison barbershop. It has an appearance of near normality. Convicts who work in it are among the most trusted in the institution. John Sawatka is serving life with no possibility of release.
Lieutenant Bowen, how long have you been coming here for your haircut?
To John, I've been coming for about 7 years. He was living in my cell house, so when I came in, it was just kind of a normal face to see, so I sat down, and he's been cutting my hair ever since.
John, is he a fussy person to have his hair cut or not?
No, sir, he's not. The lieutenant is an ex-Marine, so he likes it high and tight. But I was kind of put in check by a certain person in his life that doesn't like it real high and tight. She likes it a little bit faded, so I take care of what his wife wants. He has a very lovely wife. Take care, I'll take care. You're welcome. Be careful.
For 6 days a week, the barbershop is John Sawatka's world. It's his escape. At the end of his working day, the mundane reality of prison life is Dormitory F.
And here we are.
Yes, yes, this is where I live. This is F dorm. Yes.
Yeah, F dorm.
You have your different weight machines and stuff like that. This is the west side.
The west side?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
This is my cube.
And here we are.
West 51.
John, this is a privileged, relatively privileged part of this institution.
Oh, yes, sir.
But how do you find the fact that you have no privacy? I mean, you're living cheek by jowl here with everybody else.
Oh, no, there's plenty of privacy. You have this wall here, and this wall here. That's plenty of privacy.
But that's all you have?
Yes, sir. That's enough. Yeah. I mean, when you realize that that man, whatever he does, or that man or anybody else, has nothing to do with me, and I don't want to have anything to do with them. So this is my cell, this is my cube, this is my life. And that's all I need.
And what kind of trouble did you get into?
I just happened to commit this one murder. That's it. That's the only time I've been in trouble. I got busted for marijuana one time, but that was it. And that was a slap on the wrist. That was a misdemeanor, and that was it. And then after that, I committed this murder, and I took the lives of 2 innocent people. That's all there is to it. I'm guilty.
What were the circumstances, John, in which you took the lives of 2 innocent people?
There was a gentleman that I grew up with, and he knew another guy. Well, being that I was a dope fiend, this man presented pictures of my mother, my father, and my brother. My mother in the yard with her chihuahuas, my father coming out of the ice machine, and my brother getting out of his car in our driveway. And he said, as easy as it is to take these pictures of your family, that's how easy it is to kill. I can kill these people. That was my family. And I lost it. I don't know where I went, but I lost it. And he says, this is what I want done, and I took the lives of 2 people.
When he said to you, this is what I want done, what did that mean?
To take the lives of these 2 people, because he was trying to take over the tickets, the lottery tickets within Gary. And I didn't know any better. And when I thought he was a big time hoodlum. And I was scared. I was scared more for my family than I was my life.
I take your point about being, worried about the lives of your own family, but you could have reported him to the police.
I know, and thought never came to my mind. Thought never came to my mind. I don't know why. I don't know why.
So, John, what was the arrangement about taking the lives of 2 innocent people? What inducements did he offer? Did he offer to pay you?
Yes, there was a pay, but it was minimal. I can't remember if it was $700 or $800. It was no money whatsoever. But I was just satisfied that nothing was going to happen to my family. That was the main thing.
You were offered money.
Yes.
To kill.
Yes. Yes, sir. Now, there's no excuse. Yes.
I mean, it's what you did is what might be termed
horrendous.
A contract killing. I mean, you were paid to do it.
Yes, sir. And I took the lives of 2 innocent people.
Did you know these innocent people?
No, sir. No, sir.
And how did you kill them?
They were stabbed to death.
Wow. $700.
Yes, sir.
The 12 men on death row are linked by a common fate. One day, they'll formally be told precisely when their lives will end. When that day and that hour arrives, Superintendent Bill Wilson will carry out the orders of the state of Indiana.
Mr. McDonald, this is Mr. Allen. How you doing, Mr. Allen?
Yeah, I'm glad this weather changed.
Glad the weather changed?
Yeah.
Ms. Holmes, you doing all right?
Yes.
All right.
The superintendent makes a weekly visit to the prisoners on death row. The last man he sees today is Frederick Bear, who killed a mother and her daughter.
This is the last cell on the row.
Last cell on the block.
And you can see Mr. Bear has an infatuation with one of England's most famous people.
She has been a lifelong love of mine since like 10, 11 years old when I saw her get married the first time to Charles. And I followed her all my life.
Why?
Because of her heart, what she represents. She's just one of those people like Mother Teresa, or Jesus for that matter, you know, just makes an impact on not only one part, but the whole part of the whole world. So that's my second love.
Your cat?
Yes.
Superintendent, what's your relationship with Mr. Bear like? How would you describe it?
Oh, I'd say we have a great relationship as far as a superintendent and an offender. With the death row offenders in particular, our destinies, our course in life will throw us in the same event. And as a result, I think it's important that I get to know these guys as well as I can, or as well as they allow me. And Mr. Bear's been one of the offenders that we've had some really solid conversations about life, where we're at, why we're here, how our destinies have actually led us to this point where at one particular juncture we'll participate in the same event.
That event that you talk about is that you will preside over his execution.
Correct.
Mr. Bear, what do you think of the superintendent having made in a compassionate way, as he described it, that cultivated that relationship with you, but in the end, he will be the one to take your life?
It's not actually Mr. Wilson's taking my life, so, you know, it's the state of Indiana that's taking my life. He's a good guy. He's a fair person. He'll listen, he'll understand, and he'll exercise judgment on what he has to do fairly. He's not discriminatory towards anybody, and I gotta respect that.
How do you deal emotionally with the fact that you know you will eventually preside over his execution, his death?
I've come to grips with it by virtue of meeting with my religious leaders of my particular church and how the church feels about it. I've also asked God for forgiveness for my feebleness in the fact that I may not always understand what his intentions are for us. What I do know is that man has been allowed to create laws. We enforce those laws, and up to and including the death penalty. If I don't understand, because I can't, because I'm human, of what God's true intentions are, then I ask for forgiveness for that feebleness.
I say this with some trepidation, but it seems that between you both, you have made peace with each other about what's to happen inevitably.
Yeah, I don't know that we ever had to say that we've been at peace with one another, but I think we've made the effort to understand where each other are in the process and how our lives are intertwined. And one single day will have the most effect on one another. He will always be a part of my life, and I then of his at some point.
I put myself on the path to put him in the position to do what he has to do. Again, affecting somebody else's life years later by one or several acts of stupidity and undescribable things that I've done in my past, shamefully, regretfully. As much as I love that cat and adore her and almost one shy step of worshiping her, I would give her up to undo what I've done. Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
I'd now spent almost 2 weeks at Indiana State Prison. Convicts here face acres of time and limited horizons, and a routine that can be crushing in its monotony. But that can change in an instant.
Morning. Morning.
I'd been alerted to an incident in Cell House C. This CCTV footage shows a prisoner being dragged along the range after he'd been badly beaten.
How badly was the victim beaten up?
He was beaten up, I could say, pretty bad. You know, when I got there, I actually thought he was deceased because he wasn't moving at all.
You thought he was dead?
Pretty much, yes, because I had to get his door open. His door was already unlocked because he's a fireman. You know, firemen are out during the day. He was out, and his door was closed at the time. I had to get his padlock off because he was locked. Get in there. I touched him to move him, and he finally showed me that he was responsive. And one thing about it, his light was out. So whoever did it, they wanted to make sure that we didn't see it. You got to be prepared for anything and everything. That situation yesterday, it could have been me getting walked out on a gurney instead of somebody else. You have to be ready for it all.
The prisoners in this block will now be locked in their cells for 24 hours a day. It's an obvious safety measure. The prisoners see it as punishment. I went to see how Dennis Lair, who I had met earlier, was coping.
Hey, Dennis, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Not too bad.
All right.
How are things?
They're okay, I guess. They've been better.
Yeah. How would you describe the atmosphere on the cell block when there is a lockdown like this?
People don't like it. I mean, people have their families coming up, and there's no way that they can notify their family and tell them not to come up to visit. Like right now, I've got a cousin, her stepson is in the hospital, had major surgery the other day. I don't know what happened. You know, there's no way for me to contact home. And so I don't know if he lived or died. You know, it was a life or death situation. But I have to sit here and I have to wait until I come off lockdown to find out what happened.
How many times has that happened to you since you've been here?
Oh, it's happened a lot. I mean, I've been on stretches back in 90 or 91 where we was locked down for like 11 months straight.
How do you cope with being locked down for that period of time?
Well, you got to deal with it. You find something to do to keep you busy. If you don't keep busy, you keep yourself occupied, you know, you might go crazy. You know, some guys do. You know, I'm lucky I've got a TV, got Rascal in there, so, you know, she helps me pass my time. I got my guitar.
How does Rascal cope with being locked in?
I don't think she likes it. I think she wants to get out on the range, but she's sitting at the bars now, so I think she wants out, get out on the range and run around.
The restrictions apply to her as well?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, she can't come out either, you know. But yeah, she wants out too. It's hot on her too.
My time at this prison was coming to an end. I was surprised that so many prisoners talked about the possibility of freedom one day. Perhaps it's the only way to survive a long sentence, even if freedom is an impossible dream. Before I left, I asked for one last meeting with Frederick Bear in his death row cell. I made a final visit to death row. I asked to see Frederick Bear, who might well be the next man to be executed at Indiana State Prison. His crime still provokes outrage and disgust among the other killers here.
Hello, 206.
One afternoon in February 2004, he talked his way into a house and killed a mother and her 4-year-old daughter by cutting their throats.
Bear, who lives in Indianapolis and was arrested there last night, was working in Madison County on a construction site. He says he got lost, and that's why he was near the Clark home.
When he was arrested, he strenuously denied any involvement in the horrific crime.
I'm not a violent person. I cry when a freaking butterfly gets hit on the windshield. That's how soft and sentimental I am, because I love life. Why would I want to destroy life? I was driving up and down that road like the witnesses said and everything. Yeah, that was me. I was driving up and down the road. I was aggravated. I was high. I'm not going to lie. But am I a cold, sadistic murderer where I can cut a little girl's throat? A 5-year-old girl's throat? No. I love kids.
But that was 8 years ago.
Hello, Mr. Bear.
Hey, how you doing?
Hi, good. How are you doing?
I'm all right.
I wonder whether I could begin by asking you what you remember about your life growing up.
Well, it's a normal childhood. I mean, I was adopted by my dad, about 5 years old. Wonderful guy, you know. Didn't have to, but he loved us anyway. And he adopted me and my brother. And life was okay. It was rough. Didn't know as life went on that a lot of the abuse and stuff would start, but alcoholism and stuff played a part in that, and then my sister passed and life sort of fell apart after that. But I mean, I learned a lot of good things before that, and you know, hard knocks, hard lessons, but you know, we all have a hard life one way or another, so I'm not the only one that's been beat on and all that, you know, so, but relatively normal to some certain extent, you know.
Do you remember the first time you broke the law?
Yeah, I was, I've been a thief all my life. That's all I've been. That's all I've ever been. I'm not proud of that fact, but that's all it is. You know, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. I'm a thief. I've always been a thief. I started stealing Matchbox cars when I was in kindergarten, and then it graduated, you know, stealing cars, Matchbox cars from the store, shoplifting and stuff, and I graduated from that to stealing money, you know, then just stealing all my life.
When you look back, what is it you would say that set you on the road to crime, stealing and drugs and so on?
That's a hard question. After my sister passed away, life sort of fell apart, and I kind of gave up. She was like a big figure in my life. I sort of just gave up and I stopped caring because, you know, somebody as nice as she was could be done that way. And I ended up being sort of the same people that, you know, did to her what I've done to others to get here.
Tell me about the incident that landed you on death row.
What'd I do to get here on death row?
Yep.
I broke in a house. I walked up and under the ruse of being lost, I walked in and I knocked on the door, asked to use the phone. If somebody, you know, if nobody answered the door, then I would break in the house. Nobody was home. So I knocked on the door and a little kid answered the door. And so my first thought was, could I use your phone? You know, throw it off. Her mom came to the door and I asked to use the phone. Being withdrawing from meth and they didn't see my face, you know, I was just really wasn't there. My intentions was to rape her. And I couldn't go through with it. But I'd already gone too far, and to back out now, I know where I was headed. I was headed back to prison, and I guess I just thought that if I killed them, Nobody would never know. And so I cut their throats. I cut both of their throats.
Help me to understand that. You went in with intention of raping the mother, but you ended up killing both of them, including slitting the throat of a... Was she 4 years of age? 3, 4 years of age?
Sounds like you already know more than what I have to tell you. Yes, she was 4 years old. The mother was 24 years old. Mother's name was Corey, and the daughter's name was Jenna. And I was a cold-hearted son of a bitch.
You remember their names?
Yeah, through my paperwork. I didn't know them then, but I know them now through my paperwork. I know everything about them. Not everything about them. I on my calendar, in my date book, I've got their on my calendar marked for their birthdays.
Their birthdays?
Yeah. I mean, they're a part of my life, and I'm a part of theirs, whether they like it or not. They didn't want me in their life. I intruded in their life.
Yes, well, you're not a part of their lives because they have gone on. They've died. They've been killed.
Right. I'm a part of their families' lives. I've killed a little kid.
In a most horrendous way.
In the worst possible way that could be imagined. You just don't know. I wake up from that still, and it's 7 years, 8 years almost now. I'll be here on death row. Well, no, it is 7 years. I'll be here on death row 7 years. And I still wake up, cold sweat, when I think of what I've done, especially to that little girl. She was at the beginning of her life, and I stopped that. How do you think I feel about that? No, you can't even imagine how I feel.
I can't. I can't. I've never believed in the death penalty myself, and I've always been against it, and I probably still am. But when I think about what you do, I begin to understand why people feel it should be the appropriate sentence for crimes like yours. Do you understand that?
I do deserve to be executed. Bottom line, I ain't gonna candy coat it. I deserve to be executed. By the laws governing this state of Indiana, I deserve to be executed over there.
And the death penalty was put in place for people who did
what I've done.
What you did.
Right. I mean, there's no way around it. If a person does what I've done, they should be executed, bottom line. That's according to the laws of the state of Indiana.
I eventually took my leave of Indiana State Prison and the 1,900 men confined within its walls. But the memory of what I saw and heard here will stay with me for the rest of my life.
What was the hardest thing to adjust to when you first came into this prison?
I've always naively, I guess, thought that women were the gentler sex, the weaker sex. That's what society wants us to believe. And the fact that women can stab a man to death 40 times, I find that incomprehensible.
South of Chicago, in the state of Indiana, 2 prisons hold some of America's most dangerous female criminals. The Rockville Correctional Facility and Indiana Women's Prison house over 1,800 offenders. Many are serving long sentences for extremely violent crimes. Some will end their days here. How severely was the victim hurt?
The bullet came into close contact with his eye and
You shot him in the face?
Yes.
For 4 weeks, I was given access to a world and a culture, the like of which I've never known.
So you were classed as a baby killer?
I was that, I am that. I'm a lot more than that as well, but that's who I am.
America imprisons more women than anywhere else in the world. This is Indiana Women's Prison. My escort, Sergeant McPherson, is taking me to meet the most notorious inmate in the state, a convicted double murderer.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Sergeant, we're heading now to
the Administrative Segregation Unit. This unit is where our disciplinary offenders are. This is what you call like a punishment for them. We put them here to give them time to think about what they've done and to clear up their negative behavior.
Offenders in this unit spend more than 20 hours a day locked in their cells. They have no contact with the rest of the prison population.
Hey, Sarah, you ready?
Sarah Pender has been in this segregation unit for nearly 5 years. This is punishment not for the double murder for which she was convicted, but for an incident in 2008 which made headline news across the country.
Why do you think they have given you this long sentence, as it were, in segregation unit?
Because I embarrassed them.
How did you embarrass them?
Well, I escaped from what was supposed to be a maximum security prison.
How did you do that?
An officer aided me.
In what way?
This is a little embarrassing. He drove me out. They have these transportation vans that come in to get fuel. They have like their own little gas station, and we planned it so that when he came in to get fuel, then I came out and got in the van.
How did you manage to persuade an officer?
Well, I didn't actually...
To take you out?
I didn't actually ask him. Yeah, I know. It's, I was having... when I was planning my escape, I planned on doing it by myself. And, but I needed money, and I didn't want to ask my family because I would have to lie to them about what it was for. So in order to make money, I worked with this officer who would traffic in contraband, and then my friends would sell it for money, and then I would get the money to save up for my escape. And so he was making a lot of money because I was paying him very well to do this. And he found out that I was planning an escape and saw an opportunity to make more money. And so he said, well, what if I could just roll you out of here? I said, that would be worth my while. And as a side note, I also had a sexual relationship with the officer, and that came out when I escaped, and that was very embarrassing to the department.
I think I'm beginning to understand why the authorities have taken such a strong line on your case.
Mm-hmm.
Because you mentioned it was an embarrassment. I think it's a huge embarrassment for them.
Yes, The only explanation that they've given my mother for why I'm in here is that I'm, quote, too smart for their facility.
This is the Rockville Correctional Facility from which Sarah Pender escaped in 2008. She was on the run for more than 4 months and was labeled America's Most Wanted Woman.
Leading the way back to Indiana, 2 state troopers and an unmarked police car, bringing convicted murderer and prison escapee Sarah Jo Pender back to an Indiana state prison. Pender has been on the run from police since escaping from the Rockville Correctional Facility last August.
She'll have no contact with the outside. No phone calls, no visits, and will minimize her contact even with staff internally.
The state has been true to its word. And this has been Sarah Pender's life ever since. Scott Spittler, the officer who helped her escape, was jailed for 7 years. Sergeant McPherson has known Sarah Pender from the day she arrived at Indiana Women's Prison.
She must have struck up a very deep relationship, having targeted that male officer.
He was having problems at home, and she preyed on that. She preyed on his emotions. She made him feel that she was going to save him, that she would be his everything, that she would replace what he didn't have. And he was so vulnerable, he fell for it. So he did whatever she asked. He fell in love with her.
He fell in love with her?
Yes, but of course she wasn't in love with him. She used him to get what she wanted, and that was to get out of Rockville.
And you would put that down to her ability to
manipulate. She is, I've seen a lot. I've been here for over 20 years. Sarah is one of the best manipulators I've seen.
Out in the general population, prisoners must conform to strictly regimented days. 3 hours for recreation. "15-minute sittings for meals. Apart from this routine, inmates are allowed out of their cells, although they're confined to their assigned units.
Thank you.
This is Unit 13. Offenders have just returned from lunch.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. I'm Trevor McDonald.
Hi, Trevor. I'm Addie.
Addie?
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing here today?
I'm just talking. She's doing a little crafting, a little writing.
Some cards. You're sending cards out.
Mother's Day cards. It's coming up, so we got to get them out.
Yeah. Does your mother come to see you here?
No. My mother, she lives out of state, so she really doesn't come up here much.
She's never come to see you at all?
No. We just talk on the phone.
Yeah. And how long have you been in this prison?
Since 2006.
2006?
Yes.
That's
a long time for
7
me.
years.
Yeah.
Well, it's a long time not only for you, but for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
How did that come about?
I got strong armed robbery charges. So.
Strong armed robbery charges?
Yeah, that's more for like physical robbery. Like I didn't have a gun or anything. I was fighting, punching, that kind of stuff.
What were you robbing?
Oh, people. Sorry. It was 3 people.
Where was this, in a street?
Yeah, we were driving around. We stopped when we seen people walking. We hopped out the car, bum rushed them kinda, beat them up, knocked them down, tried to snatch the purses.
So you robbed 3 people?
Yeah.
How much did you take?
Oh, it was only $300 from that robbery, so it really wasn't nothing. A stupid decision, not worth anything, especially all these years of my life.
When you say from that robbery, you suggest that there were other instances.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was. I just didn't get caught, fortunately.
How old were you when you started on this
may I call it a career?
Oh, well, since I was about 13.
School?
I went to school up until like 10th grade, then I started fighting, getting expelled, and I just stopped going. I'm actually really smart in school. I always had straight A's, but I just couldn't stay there, always fighting, getting expelled.
Why couldn't you stay there? Why did you find the need to fight? What?
I just have a really horrible anger problem, so I always let that get the best of me.
Even looking at you now, I'm finding it difficult to believe that you are capable of having done that.
I'm very much capable of it.
Because you're still very young.
Yeah, I'm 25. Yep.
And your sentence was?
16 years, do 8.
If you behave well.
Yeah.
If you control your anger.
Right. And actually, probably in the most recent year, I can say, I've been getting control of my anger. And I have 2 kids, so I know I have to
You have 2 kids?
Yes.
How old are they?
They're 7 and 9. 2 little girls.
Do you feel you have let them down by not being there for them?
Yes, I have. And I deal with that every day, and that's really like my biggest motivation to changing and being different and coming out of here and, you know, taking something from it, not just, oh, I've been in prison. You know, I want to walk out of here and be something for them. I just do not want them to follow this same circle. Like, my mother was in prison. You know, this is the same.
What for?
Attempted murder and aggravated robbery.
So that was not perhaps a great start for you in your life, was it?
No, it wasn't. That's kind of what, you know, kicked everything off. It's Mama leaving.
Addie Hartz will be free in only a few months. She'll spend much longer picking up the threads of her life. I'm on my way to the Rockville Correctional Facility. This is the largest women's prison in the state of Indiana.
I still need Bowen, Jones, Fairchild, Andrea Jones, Dean,
Rockville is a clearinghouse for convicts from all over the state. Some will serve all their time here. Others are assessed and moved on to other prisons. Every month on average, 200 new offenders arrive here. This is their first port of call. From now on, their every action will be governed by prison rules.
Ready? Look right up here. 1, 2, 3.
All right, this paper here tells you we don't allow any sexual contact of any kind between you and staff and you or our offenders.
Your stuff? Okay. Go over there and get a styrofoam cup, put your name on it. There's water in the orange thing.
From the way an intake looks when she comes in here, can you tell what she might be in for?
No. I don't ever try to guess. Some of them, when you look at them and you look at the offender, it's like you cannot believe that that's what she's here for.
You're frequently surprised by what they've done?
Very much so, yeah. You would, if you look at, you know, the paper and then look at her and you're going, there's no way. But, yep.
Do you see many of the same people coming and going?
Yes. They'll come in that door back there and say, I'm home. And I'm going, really? You know? Because for some of them, this is. Because they have nowhere else to go. Okay, I'm gonna roll each finger. I'm gonna start with your right thumb.
Hello, I'm Trevor.
Hi, I'm Paul.
Have you been in this prison before?
Yes, I have. For Fort Wayne, Indiana, I've been here for possession of meth. So I've been here before, but I only stayed like in intake. I didn't leave intake, so, but this time I will.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this time you will be in the general prison population.
Yeah, sure will.
What sort of prospect is that for you?
A little scary, but at the same time, like, I don't know, teach me little morals, you know? Teach me not to come back.
Do you have a drug dependency?
I've been to rehab, yeah. I'm an addict straight up, so yeah, I do.
How long have you been an addict?
Since I was 17 and I'm 28. A couple years, a long time.
Do you have children?
I do. I have 4.
4 children?
I have 4. My oldest one is 13. I have a 13-year-old, 12-year-old, 9-year-old, and a 6-year-old.
I'm trying to find a hopeful road out of this for you.
I know. I know.
What's that?
I don't know. I have to have a game plan when I leave here. I know that. Like, going back to life, like, when I got in trouble this time, I violated probation because I didn't have no transportation back and forth, and I wasn't using, and I haven't used for maybe 3 months at the most, you know, and that's pretty good for me because I was doing needles and all kinds of stuff. But 3 months is a big step, and I just want it a little bit further and a little bit further. But it's just, it's hard. It's really, really hard. Yeah.
Thank you very much for talking to me. Good luck.
Thank you.
New inmates have a month of prison orientation. They're easily recognized by their orange uniform. For every new arrival, some other prisoner is about to leave. Martha Search is quietly counting down the days.
Thank you, ma'am. You're welcome.
I caught up with her on her mail delivery round.
Martha, how long have you been in?
Almost 20 years.
The thought of getting out must be a exhilarating one.
Yes.
But you must also be worried about getting back into the world after all this time.
Yeah, I am, but this time has given me time to discover things I didn't have before, like patience. And I know it's going to be hard. It's going to be a little bit difficult, but I just take one day at a time. And I'm just anxious to see how the world has changed in that 20 years.
You'll have a lot to catch up on.
Yes, I have a lot to catch up on, and I have 2 daughters grown that were ages almost 13 and 16 when I was incarcerated, who are now 32 and 35. So I haven't seen them in a while.
Have you seen any of them since you've been here?
I haven't seen my youngest daughter since '99. She couldn't do it no more. And my oldest, I stopped coming in 2005 because she didn't want to leave without me anymore.
And you missed quite a lot.
I just went from here to Terre Haute to the hospital not long ago, and I was awestruck at the things I saw. And I had to have the officer tell me what it was, because I didn't know what it was.
Things like what?
I seen this little gadget once, and I didn't know what it was, and someone said it was an iPod, so I had to have them explain to me what an iPod was, because I don't know. And a cell phone. I'm used to your cord phones at home. So, I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to get out and try these things. I'm a type of person that likes to learn things, and I'm curious, and I'm gonna find out, and I'm gonna get on Google. I found out all about Google and all that. I just can't wait. I just can't wait to explore everything.
So you're waiting to make your entry back into the real world?
Yes. And I've told my children that you might still see a little prison in me because I've been down so long. You know, there might be this
What does that mean?
There might be this one time when I look at the clock and think it's count time. Or not sure if I should answer the telephone. And money's gonna be strange to my hands, you know? And so I said, if I act a little different, or if I wander off for an hour or two, don't worry about Mom, I'm exploring.
Have you thought what your first night of freedom would be like when you can sleep in a bed of your own?
I feel it might show me how a little bit of heaven would feel. That's how I think of it, is a little bit of heaven. You
Not
know,
in a dorm surrounded by other people?
heaven. Heaven.
For 20 years, Martha Search has been told what to do and when. All those decisions will soon be hers alone. prison inmates on long sentences survive partly on dreams of freedom. But in August 2008, one female offender, Sarah Pender, actually broke out of Rockville. The convicted double murderer had earlier told me that her escape plan relied on the help of Officer Scott Spittler.
Now, since September, we've been hot on the trail of a woman authorities have called a female Charles Manson. Now, recently she was added to the U.S. Marshals 15 Most Wanted list, making her the most wanted woman in America.
But how on earth do the authorities explain the fact that she escaped? Lieutenant Brad Gray was on duty on the day of the breakout.
Lieutenant Gray, what were your impressions of Sarah Pender while she was here?
She was always trying to get an advantage over someone or something. It was always about, anytime you talk to her, if you ask her a question, she would typically respond with, "What's in it for me?" And when people, either say that or give you the impression that that's what they're trying to do, then it should put you on notice that, you have to be careful about how you're dealing with them.
She got out through a back door in this recreation building. Having changed into casual clothes, she hid her prison uniform in the ceiling. The door alarms failed to go off, and a white van was waiting. With Pender crouching under the back seat, Spittler drove her out of the west gate and out onto the open road.
What were your feelings about the fact that this was an officer with whom you had worked very closely, someone you knew, someone you had served with, and someone you respected as a colleague?
Once we discovered that it was him that had driven Pender out of the facility, I was just absolutely sick, just sick to my stomach, physically sick, mentally sick over the entire episode.
Sarah Pender proved to be, as you had probably thought when she came in here, that she was just as clever a manipulator as you had originally felt.
Oh, absolutely. She has proven herself to be that time and time again, and that is probably the best proof of it right then and there. If you can convince an officer, someone who was trained not to do this, somebody who was trained to maintain the order and the peace of a facility, if you can convince that person to drive you out of a correctional facility, you can convince anybody to do anything.
The authorities were bruised by Sarah Pender's escape. She was put in solitary confinement and has now been here for almost 5 years, longer than any other female prisoner in the state. Of the 1,200 offenders at Rockville Correctional Facility, 85% of them are mothers. I'm on my way to Dormitory 2, where new arrivals to the prison are housed.
Thank you.
Paula McIntosh, a mother of 4, was beginning the difficult process of adjustment.
Paula, what was your first night like here?
I like going in and seeing all the new girls.
Was it a very talkative dorm? Did you get some sleep?
They let me sleep. They helped me. They talked to me a little bit, told me if I needed any shampoo or anything, they'd help me out. But yeah, a lot of noise, a lot of echoes. You can wake up easy, you know.
What was the biggest shock to you coming into intake?
When you get not really to intake, just like when you drive up in that vehicle and you turn around and you see that the last gate close, it's like your heart goes instant. Yeah, it's really hard.
Will you have a visit soon, or?
No, my family won't come up here. My dad, he doesn't really come and see us because it's just really hard on him. So I'm pretty sure I won't get no visits.
Why won't your father come to see you?
I think it's too hard on him because there's me and then my brother's just turned 18 and he's locked up and it's just like a pattern, you know? And I think it's really hard on him, so he won't come see me.
It's hard on him, but it's also very tough on you that he wouldn't come to see you.
Yep. Plus, he's got my daughter. He's got my 9-year-old right now. So, you know, he's got a lot of responsibilities on him, so. I said I don't know, pray for him, that's all I can do.
Your daughter is 9. At that age, she's able to understand a great deal. I wonder what your father said to her or says to her about your situation.
She knows. Melissa's been like, I've been locked up before. My daughter's Melissa, and she's really strong, and she knows everything. I don't lie to her. I told her she knows about my drug use. She knows about she knows everything. And I called her this time and told her I was going to prison, and she's like, just keep your head up.
Gosh, that's pretty tear-jerking to be told by your 9-year-old daughter to keep your head up. But even for you to make a call to say that you're going to prison.
Yep.
Yeah. And you have no idea when you'll see her again?
No. Her dad just got out of prison, and he's not seen her not one time. And she's 9, and I guess he's just like coming around. My dad's letting him come and see her, like visits. So that's like a big step for her too. When it's just like, and then it's like, I'm there and then I'm gone, you know?
Well, I hope your time passes here very quickly, and I hope that you get a chance to be reunited with your daughter and your family.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for talking to me.
You too.
Thank you.
At Indiana Women's Prison, it's morning recreation. It's a chance for inmates to make friends and cultivate relationships, which can be a desperately important part of prison life. The most troublesome offenders have few opportunities to do that. They are confined to this segregation unit. They have 1 hour out of their cells and are escorted, shackled, even to go for a shower. Sarah Pender's cell faces that of her friend, armed bank robber Desiree Hancock.
Put your arms back out here then. This one? Yeah. I heard you tighten it up after I put it on you. All right, step back. Step out.
But I notice you're opposite Sarah Pender.
Yes, I love her. That's one of my very good friends, I would like to give her a lot of credit for partly the woman that I am today. Like when I get ready to show out or I get ready to snap, because this place will take you there, she'll be like, Desiree, shut up. Or, shut up, go sit down. And I'll go sit down, I'll calm down. In a place like this, friend is not a word that you just throw around. And it's not something that you just say, because women are very vindictive creatures and they're very fake and they're very just catty. They will smile in your face and they would just be like, hey, and I just hope nothing but the best for you. And then you turn around and they done blue slipped you like 35 times and trying to get you and your girlfriend separated.
How close do these relationships get? You mentioned women and her girlfriend. That's it's a pretty
They get pretty deep.
Pretty deep.
Pretty deep. They get pretty deep. A lot of women don't come in here gay. I wasn't when I came to prison, but I am now. And
you have become
yes,
practicing gay? Is that
yes, I'm a lesbian.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I am.
But you discovered that, or you became that when you were here, when you came to this?
I was married 3 years before I came to prison to a man. And,
okay.
it's just, I don't know, loneliness is what started it. And then one thing led to another, and it may seem fake on the outside, but emotions and feelings are real.
And you have had such a deep relationship in this.
I've had two great loves. I've had a dozen relationships, but I had two great loves, and I have...
In this prison?
And I will say that I damaged both of them. I damaged both of them.
How did you do that? How did you damage both of them?
Being a cheater, a liar, it was like being a cheater and a liar. Like when you're in a relationship, it's like being a kid in a candy store. It's not just one, it's not one girl, it's 740 girls. So, and out of the 740, probably only 40 ain't gay. The rest of them, this is the gayest place on earth. The rest of them are all gay.
It's lunchtime on Unit 13. Inmates follow a well-marked-out route to the food hall. I meet up again with Addie Hartz, who is hoping very soon to leave this place for good.
Am I allowed to grab one of these?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll grab. Okay. What's on the menu today?
This is a chicken patty with gravy.
What is this?
A chicken patty.
Okay.
With gravy. This is supposed to be cabbage, and this is some kind of Spanish rice, I'm sure.
Spanish rice?
Yeah. Some of it's really not bad. I'm bashing the food, but some of it really isn't that bad. Yeah. Like, I'm gonna eat this stuff.
Yeah, this is a good tray today.
Are you guys ready to say grace?
Yes.
Okay. Dear Lord, we come to you and thank you for this meal. We ask that you bless it and let it be nourishment to our bodies. In your precious name we pray and thank you. Amen.
Amen.
The gravy's too watery, so it made it really soggy.
The other thing is about this place, which is very obvious, is that this is an all-female environment.
Yeah.
Which you've had to get used to.
Right. And that's kind of funny because on the streets I never really hung around females. But there's people here that I'm close with. Queenie's one of them. This is Crusher. We're close. Yeah. Not like sisters, but you know, just close. People that you bond with and have fun with.
Yeah.
It's okay.
We all have a common bond. No matter your crime, we all have a common bond. Like we could see someone like Crystal having a bad day or Addie have a bad day and then she crying. You know, this is a no-touch facility. We're supposed to be hugging, but we do.
I feel like women need the comfort of, hey, it's gonna be all right. And if you can tell me all day, but if you touch me and let me know it's gonna be all right.
Keep everything surface, you know?
Is everything on the surface, or are there deeper relationships than that?
In here?
Yes.
Yeah, plenty of them. But I try not to get involved in all that. I've been involved with deeper relationships in here, and it just didn't really go well, so I just try not to.
Oh, so you were, you say?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it didn't go well?
No, not at all. Like, you feel like it's going well while it's going, but once they're, like, out of sight, they go home or something, it never goes as planned. Like, all the words they've said, it doesn't add up.
Now, you're looking forward to being out in a few months, but what are the fears, what are the worries about this world that you're going into after 6, 7, 8 years?
Well,
what concerns you?
Really just the fact of being put back in the same environment, the same surroundings, you know, and making the other choice, not the negative choice. So, what'd y'all say? Nothing. Y'all don't like it?
Well, we was looking at your cabbage. I was wondering, can I have it?
You're looking at the cabbage. You can have my cabbage. Yes,
okay,
please. Please have my cabbage.
We're allowed to share food.
So you had 2 cabbages today.
That's right.
You'll take the chicken patty?
I sure will.
I'm glad my presence here is serving some purpose. So you've left me bread and rice.
You see how it goes?
And I'm not eating my rice. You can have mine.
Thank you very much, ladies.
This is how it works around here.
Will you miss Addie? Will you miss?
Yes, I will. To me, she's a youngster. So I think it's my job to put some meat on her brain, put a little knowledge on her, so she won't come back here, because this is not where you want to be. I keep her grounded, like if she's mad, I'll be like, okay, Addie, let's talk.
Do you think that she's going to stay out of trouble?
I think so. I think she got it right. She has babies, so I think she's
You guys are great.
Go home.
It kind of keeps me really motivated.
And that's the big point for you, too, isn't it? You have your life back with your children.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. I just can't wait. They deserve so much more. You know, like this has been my life, and this is my parents' life, and this was their parents' life. And I'm just so ready to break that curse, that cycle.
The prison officers I spoke to were optimistic that once she's released, Addie Hartz stands a good chance of keeping out of trouble. At the end of my first visit, I asked to see the convicted double murderer Sarah Pender again.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
Once described as America's most wanted woman, her notoriety is a far cry from her formative years and life as a college student. All that changed in the year 2000. Pender was charged with the murder of a couple with whom she shared a house. They were actually shot by her boyfriend, Richard Hull, but the prosecution believed that Sarah Pender was instrumental in planning the murder. She bought the murder weapon. And she helped to dispose of the bodies in this skip.
She has a Charles Manson-like ability to manipulate people to act as surrogates for her in committing crimes. The evidence was overwhelming that if she didn't pull the trigger, she did everything else.
Pender has always admitted helping to get rid of the bodies, but she strenuously denies masterminding the killings. But she failed to convince the jury. Pender was found guilty of double murder. I kept hoping to get to the bottom of the Sarah Pender story.
Okay. The thing that I have always got from the conversations we've had before is that you are not typical of the people in this prison environment generally. Mm-hmm. Would you agree?
I would. I have a wider worldview, and I think that I've been able to glean more wisdom than the typical person. I'm generally more educated. I have 5 years of college.
Why did you choose the path that ended you up here?
It was an emotional attachment to someone who, when I found out that he dealt drugs, that I accepted it because I didn't want to lose him.
So at every stage you were aware of where that codependency was taking you?
Yes, I went into the relationship with my eyes open. However, I was very, very naive, and I never thought that it would bring harm to me or anyone that I loved. And like most women, I thought that I could change him. And I asked him to stop selling drugs and to get a real job, and he agreed. And that was the path that I thought we were going on at the time.
Were you aware that there were guns in the house, or a gun in the house?
Yeah, I bought the gun. It was my gun. He asked me to buy him a gun.
If someone asked me to buy a gun, my first question would be, A, why me? Why are you asking me to do it? And what are you going to use it for? Mm-hmm. Did you ask those questions?
Yeah. And he told me that I was the only person who didn't have a criminal background, because
Well, that in itself is awfully suspicious.
well, you can't, in America, you can't buy a firearm legally if you have a felony. And so I was the only person who was legally able to buy it. But
Sure, but I'm talking about the fact that you were being asked to buy a gun by a felon.
the thought of being left alone frightened me more than whatever consequences would come from purchasing a firearm.
What kind of a gun was this?
It was a shotgun that you would use for hunting, like, I think birds. I don't know, I didn't pick it out.
But in the end, it was not used for hunting birds. It was used for shooting two people with whom he was in a disagreement.
Yeah. Well, he had no disagreement with the woman. He said that he shot her just because she was a witness.
The bare fact of the matter is that you purchased a gun which was used in the killing of two people. Did you think about the victims of the people who were killed in this crime?
I think about them all the time. I think more about their families. The woman had 3 kids. Patricia, she had 3 children. And despite the fact that they were both felons, drug dealers, it doesn't matter. They were still people, and they have families that love them, just like I have a family that loves me. And they can't ever get those people back.
What did you think when you heard the judge or the prosecutor pronounce a sentence on you? Because you were given two very long sentences.
Yes, I was given 110 years.
110 years?
Yeah.
What were your emotions on hearing that dreadful sentence?
Disbelief.
Why did the jury in the end conclude that you were directly involved in the murder of 2 people?
I knew that I had committed a crime, but I knew I wasn't guilty of murder, and I was willing to take responsibility for my actions.
In that case, was it in somebody's mind, the mind of the prosecutors, the prosecuting authorities, that you had somehow encouraged or manipulated him into committing those murders?
Yes. Yes, that was their theory, that I had, this is where the entire reputation of manipulation, that I'm a manipulator, came from. The prosecutor had went forward on the theory that I had manipulated Richard into murdering the victims, and his theory was that I wanted them out of my house.
You were being judged, or you were seen, you were perceived as a two-faced manipulator.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is a really hard label to carry. Every time I meet somebody new, if they are aware of my infamous reputation, it's a new hurdle to jump. And that's a consequence of my actions.
Next week, I talk to a woman who took the life of her 3-month-old son.
So you were classed as a baby killer?
I was that, I am that. I'm a lot more than that as well, but that's who I am.
I meet newborn Zayden.
What would you tell your son when he is old enough about where he was born and the circumstances in which he was born?
I would just tell him that Mommy made a big mistake and hopefully he won't ever come to a place like this.
And I speak to a murderer who managed to stay on the run for 35 years.
I heard something coming in the back door, and I thought, oh no, it's the cops.
What was the hardest thing to adjust to when you first came into this prison?
I've always naively, I guess, thought that women were the gentler sex, the weaker sex. That's what society wants us to believe. And the fact that women can stab a man to death 40 times, I find that incomprehensible.
South of Chicago, in the state of Indiana, 2 prisons hold some of America's most dangerous female criminals. The Rockville Correctional Facility and Indiana Women's Prison house over 1,800 offenders. Many are serving long sentences for extremely violent crimes. Some will end their days here.
How severely was the victim hurt?
The bullet came into close contact with his eye and it
Shot him in the face?
Yes.
For 4 weeks, I was given access to a world and a culture, the like of which I've never known.
So you were classed as a baby killer?
I was that, I am that. I'm a lot more than that as well, but that's who I am.
America imprisons more women than anywhere else in the world. My second visit to Indiana Women's Prison began in its segregation unit. The prisoners here are among the most dangerous, and some have been punished for breaking the rules. They're locked down for 23 hours a day and have no contact with the rest of the institution.
Miss Boyd? Yes. Some people here would like to meet you. Yes, I'm close the door behind you. Step right here. You can step in front of your door for me, please. Okay.
Thank you very much for coming out of your cell to talk to us.
No problem.
How long have you been in this segregation unit?
In about a week, it'll be 4 months. So
Well, what's that like?
it's hard, especially being pregnant.
You're pregnant?
Yeah.
When did you find out you were pregnant? Where?
When I got arrested, they gave me a pregnancy test at the county jail while I was there, and I found out there. And I was already like a month in my pregnancy, because I'm 5 months right now.
It's one thing to be pregnant in any general prison population. It must be particularly agonizing to be pregnant and to be in a segregated cell.
Yeah, like I said, you feel alone, you feel like, I mean, it's so depressing to where like every day at 6 o'clock when we get mail, you sit there on your bed and you look under your door to see if you get mail, and when you don't, like I sit there and I cry because I feel like everybody just forgot about me. And being pregnant is even worse because my hormones are driving me crazy. 1 minute I'm mad, 1 minute I'm even madder, 1 minute I'm really upset. It's just an emotional roller coaster in this little room by myself.
When was your last communication with the father of your child?
Before we came here.
Is this your first baby?
No, I have a daughter. She's 5. She's with my mother right now.
What does your 5-year-old make of your situation? Because she is probably of the age where she's just about beginning to comprehend that her mother is not around.
Oh yeah, I talked to her. She knows that I've been in trouble, and she tells me like it is. I'll call her at home and she'll tell me, why can't you just stop getting in trouble and be home with me? And, you know, she tells me she's like the mom and I'm the child. That's what it seems like right now.
Boyd escaped from a prison work program which was based in the local community. Her punishment is 6 months in this unit. Pregnant women who do follow the rules and who have committed less serious crimes are put in a separate wing. Once they're about to give birth, they are taken to a local hospital. Their babies will then spend the first months of their lives back here.
Brooke, how long have you been in prison?
I've been here since September.
And when was your...
He was born December 6th.
What's his name?
Zayden.
Zayden. How well did they look after you in this facility when you were in the advanced stages of your pregnancy?
They looked after us really well. Once I had to go and be induced, so they took me out like Wednesday evening, and I went to the hospital, got induced, and I had him later on that night. And we get to stay there 24 to 48 hours, depending on whether you bottle feed or breastfeed.
How does that work in hospital? Do you have somebody looking over you? You have a guard there while you give birth?
Yes, the officer usually sits in the room 24/7, and you're shackled to the bed unless you're in active labor. Then they actually let you stay unshackled until you give birth. After you give birth, you have to get shackled back to the bed.
You're shackled to a bed?
Yes. Just your ankle.
Just your ankle, but you were shackled to a bed?
Shackled, yes.
It's not the most propitious circumstances in which to have something which is so intensely personal.
It was very embarrassing, very embarrassing.
May I see the cell where you spend most of your time?
Yes.
Thank you. See, yes. How different would this be in its physical surroundings if you were at home?
At home, he would have his own room. I wouldn't have my bed in here. He would have a dresser, a changing table.
What would you tell your son when he is old enough about where he was born and the circumstances in which he was born?
I really haven't thought about that question yet. I would just tell him that Mommy made a big mistake and it was for the better. Why I came here, it made Mommy learn a lot, and I hope he can learn from my mistakes and see how embarrassing it was to be here, and hopefully he won't ever come to a place like this.
You'll tell him he was born in prison?
Yes.
It's visiting time, and Kim is preparing to take baby Gabriella outside the unit. At times like these, offenders are sharply reminded of where they are.
So you have to be accompanied on these visits out, Kim, do you?
When we have the babies, yes.
Yes. Why is that?
Just for their safety.
I mean, there's sexual offenders here that have done crimes like that, so that's one of the reasons why we escort them.
It's difficult to believe that people will want to do anything to a child being taken out to a visiting area.
I know. That it might happen. Yeah.
And you have to make sure he doesn't.
Yes, sir.
This, after all, Kim, is a women's prison. So it's rather difficult to imagine that a woman would do something against a child.
Oh, yeah. For me, it's hard for me to fathom that a mother or any woman would be able to do that to a child, but it happens, and there's actually women in this prison that have hurt their children. Yeah, I couldn't imagine.
132, 173, Tamika said 1 to 9 and 1 to 13 from the dining hall.
This is Rockville Correctional Facility, the largest women's prison in the state of Indiana, with more than 1,200 convicts. Lieutenant Brad Gray is taking me to Dormitory 5, one of the largest in the prison. Inmates here are allowed the freedom of the unit during the day. Come nighttime, they're locked in, 16 to a room.
Are there outbreaks of disorder with 16 women in one small space?
Occasionally, yeah. We have, just like any other environment where you have that many people in a small space, once they get on each other's nerves to the point that, that they feel a physical altercation or a verbal altercation is their only means of resolution, then we'll have arguments or fights from time to time.
Much more fundamentally, how do you choose, or do you choose, who is one of the 16 in one of those rooms, and how do you do that?
We just do it through the offender's behavior. Those offenders who display more difficult behavior, we have closer to the officer's station.
Would you put, say, somebody who's been guilty of check fraud with somebody who's committed murder? Would you put them in one dorm?
Yes, we would, because it again is predicated more by the offender's behavior once they're in the environment than it is by the crime that got them. Yes, absolutely.
I'd been told about one of the most difficult people in this unit. Kiana Ball is in for armed robbery.
Hello, I'm Trevor.
I'm Kiana.
How are you?
I'm good.
It's a very crowded space to be in.
Yes, it is. It's kind of odd being in a room with so many females and not really having your own personal space. Like, you have your own personal space, but it seems like it's not enough.
What's the atmosphere like when everybody's here?
It can be a little off balance, a little frustrating, because all the different moods and attitudes that it's like a lot of different personalities, and they tend to clash, and you have like half the room has their good days and then half the room has their bad days, so it's like, it's real crazy. It's real crazy.
Out of earshot of her cellmates, I asked to talk to Ball about her crime. In 2009, Kiana Ball and her boyfriend Carlton Wright attempted to steal a van at gunpoint. The owner, Rinaldo Santiago, resisted and was shot at point-blank range. This is Ball and Wright moments after the shooting. They hide their weapons in a nearby apartment block. When she was arrested, police discovered these guns in Kiana Ball's handbag.
How old are you now?
I'm 22. I will be 23 in November.
So you were 19 years of age?
Yes.
When you came to prison?
It's a lot to handle, and I have kids at home, so that makes it a little more harder to cope with than anything.
How many kids do you have at home?
I have 2 kids at home. I have a little girl, Brianna. She's 6. She'll be 7 July 16th. And I have a 4-year-old son, Zion. He will be 5 June 12th.
How were you caught? How were you found out?
We found ourselves in a jam with a guy that we had met, and things just got out of hand. And we were trying to rob him, and just things, like I said, things got out of hand, things got carried away, and he ended up being shot, and we...
You shot him?
Yes.
How severely was the victim hurt?
He was severely hurt on the left side of his face. The bullet came into close contact with his eye, and
You shot him in the face?
Yes. It came into close contact with the side of his face by his eye. Now he's permanently blind in his left eye.
Wow.
Yes.
What's your emotional response knowing what the consequence of your action was.
I didn't have any feeling at all about it. I didn't feel sorry about it. I didn't regret it. I didn't want to take it back. I didn't want to fix anything. I didn't feel bad at all. But after the fact, I felt bad because it's like, this is an innocent man. I don't know him from anywhere. He doesn't know me from anywhere. He's never done anything to me because we don't know each other. So when I thought about it, I was like, I almost took an innocent man's life.
And your sentence was?
My sentence was, I signed a plea, pleading guilty to armed robbery with serious bodily injury, and I was sentenced to 30 years to do 15.
You have to deal too with the realization that the formative years of your children's development
Yes.
will go on
Yes.
Without you.
It bothers me because like all the little things that I'm missing out on are all the little things that I would love to be there for. Like my son's first day of school, just all the little things is what are the most important to me. So it hurts.
It is quite conceivable that they might have been out of school by the time you by the time you get out.
There's a possibility that's if I don't keep myself out of trouble and I keep down the path that I've found myself being on, getting into trouble constantly, in and out of lock. If I keep myself on that path, then I'll find myself not getting home to my kids until they're grown, and that's something I don't want to happen. I want to
almost until they're adults.
Yes. So I would like to make it home to them before it's too late. I would like to be able to spend some time with them before they're too grown.
Kiana Ball is one of those who finds it extremely difficult to cope with life in prison, compounded by the fact that bad conduct has got her an additional 9 years. Evening recreation at Rockville. Prisoners have an hour's free time before lights out. The tedium of the unimaginable sameness of long days poses difficulties for even the toughest offenders. And for some, there's the constant pain of living with the memory of what you did. Dawn Hopkins was convicted of the battery and manslaughter of her 3-month-old son. After almost 15 years, she's about to be released.
Hello.
Do you mind if we interrupt your game for a brief while?
No, that's okay.
How much time do you get to play table tennis every day?
We spend about an hour a day doing that Monday through Friday. It gives us something to do and gets us off the housing unit. It's a little bit of exercise, but it's not real intense.
How long have you been at this facility?
I've been incarcerated at this facility for 1 year, but I've been incarcerated for 14 and a half years.
14 and a half years?
Yes, but it's almost over. I have 2 years left. In like 29 months, I go home.
In your darkest moments here, have you reflected on the circumstances which actually brought you to prison?
Yes. 3 months into my incarceration, I tried to take my own life because I couldn't deal with the guilt of what I had done to bring myself here. I was very lucky that an officer found me and saved my life. I hung myself 3 months into my stay.
You tried to hang yourself?
Yes, I did. I was facing the rest of my life incarcerated. I was 25 years old. I had taken another person's life, and I couldn't live with that. And I did try to take my own life when I was first incarcerated.
So the trigger for your attempting to take your own life was the fact that you were looking ahead at this vast expanse of time that you had to do in jail?
And the guilt of taking somebody's life, the pain that I had caused my family, and I just felt like I was never going to be able to do anything positive with my life ever again.
It must be strange to think of going home after all this time.
Actually, it's terrifying. The world has changed in so many ways. And when I'm done, I'll have done 16 years. And the amount of ways that the world has changed in that time, it's scary. And I don't have a lot of family support, so it'll be like standing on my own 2 feet for the first time in my life.
What was your early life like?
I was a full-time college student. I have a bachelor's degree in accounting, and I ran a bar that my stepdad owned. When I go home, I also have a degree in philosophy that I've earned since I've been incarcerated. When I go home, I'm hoping to eventually own my own bakery, coffee shop. I want to get my pastry chef license and do that kind of stuff when I go home.
You seem to have worked it out pretty well. You seem determined not to be somebody who comes back, and you have a plan for your life in the future.
Absolutely. I think that's what you have to do. You have to set goals, and you have to turn your dream into a goal. Set the steps and accomplish them one at a time to be able to reach your goal. Otherwise, you're just treading water.
For most prisoners here, treading water is the sum total of their lives. And I'm about to meet a woman who has spent more time in prison than any other in the state of Indiana. At Indiana Women's Prison, 69 inmates are here for life. They will, of course, be denied any chance of a return to their families. For the majority, that's the agony that constantly haunts them. One of the prisoners here came to this place years ago as a teenager. This is called the Programs Building. My escort is Officer Frank Bryan.
Hello. Morning.
Welcome.
Thank you.
M2,
This
M1.
is our community outreach. These ladies up here are working on a quilt, I believe.
Disregard the visiting room meeting. I'll meet you at 9 o'clock.
These are some examples of some of the things they're making.
I've been here since I was 16 years old. I've done 38 years, so.
You've been here since
I don't get out. Yeah, I don't get out much.
Yeah, you've been here since you were 16.
Yes. Yeah, but.
That's a pretty early age to come to prison.
Yeah. I'm the youngest. I was the youngest offender ever here, and now I'm the longest one to have ever spent as much time here. Yeah.
That's your tag, yes?
Yes, I've got the shortest DOC number.
Which year did you come to this prison?
Which year?
In
75. 1975.
1975.
Yes. I've never driven a car. I never went on a date. Never had a checking account. I was never able to be a mother. But a lot of these people in here that are younger, I'm mom.
Do you have many family connections? Do people come to visit you?
My sister does with her kids and her grandkids. So I still have a connection out there, yeah.
How do they regard you? What do they think of you and of your situation?
Oh, they want me to come home. They want me to,
that hurts.
Yeah. My two nieces, they went and broke their piggy bank and took their money to their mom, my sister, and said, "Is this enough to get Aunt Cindy out?"
Gosh.
Yeah. And that's what makes me emotional.
It's very difficult to me to talk to somebody who's been in this situation for 38 years when I look back on my life and think all the things I have done in that time.
Yeah.
And to some extent, yours has...
It's in a box.
You came into prison at age 16. What for?
Murder. I committed murder.
What were the circumstances in which you killed someone?
I was abused. I was extremely abused from basically a home that I was living at. And I tried to leave, and I set a fire trying to get out, and it got out of hand. And they died in the fire.
So you started the fire?
Trying to escape.
Right. And how many people?
6.
6 people were in the house?
Yes.
And they died?
Yes.
Did you not know there were people there?
I knew the people were there. What I was thinking was, if I set a fire, then everybody can get out and I can run. That was my intentions. The fire got out of hand.
How quickly were you apprehended?
A couple of months later. I was in the hospital because I had burns. Yeah.
So you burnt yourself too.
Trying to save them. That's how I got burnt. I kept trying to go back into the house to get them.
Didn't work.
No.
This is probably a brutal way of putting it, and I acknowledge that, but the fact is, for you, this is it.
Right.
You will end your life here. You will end your days here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I am looking forward to growing old in here because...
You're looking forward to that?
Yes, because, you know, I'm going to know that my life is not going to be much longer. And there's something always positive on the other side, and I believe that.
It's very good to meet you.
It's good to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you for talking to me.
Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you.
All of you.
Early chow! Line up!
Another day is beginning at Rockville. Although the majority of inmates here will be released into the community one day, prisoners talk endlessly about the years of family life they have missed. The story of one of the people here, though, is different. She watched her children grow up when, by law, she should have been doing life for murder. Linda Darby's story is remarkable by any standard. In 1972, she escaped from prison. She went on the run for more than 30 years, and in that time, managed to create an entirely new life. To evade capture, she abandoned the family and the town she knew. She set out to start again in a small town in Tennessee.
Darby's escape from the Indiana State Women's Prison was bloody.
I was scratched up and bloody and everything from going over the barbed wire.
For the past 30 years or so, the now 64-year-old has been living in Pulaski. Even Darby doesn't know how she kept her 30-year secret. Married with 2 children, 8 grandchildren, a playset is in the backyard. She cleaned houses for a living. Today, though, this fugitive has a message for people who believed her to be Linda McElroy and not Linda Darby.
This is who I am. This is who I am.
So you escaped and you decided to make a clean breast of it, start a new life.
I just changed my last name, changed 1 digit to my Social Security, and that's how I survived.
Were you always in a position where you were looking over your shoulder, wondering whether the next tap on your shoulder would be that of an arresting officer, a policeman, somebody in authority?
There's always the chance. I just kept asking God, please let me raise my children. I couldn't imagine them not being able to take care of themselves.
Did you ever confide in anybody at all about what had happened to you?
No.
There was nobody you felt you could talk to about your life in prison before?
I knew that if I involved them, then that would put them in the middle of it too. So no, I did not.
But it must be difficult when people talk about their lives. You know, you drift into talking about what you did earlier. How was it possible never to mention anything about your past to your closest friends?
It was hard. It was very hard. But I just kept it within.
On the day that policeman came to your house, on that fateful day, what were you planning to do on that day?
I had just got through working. I was working for cleaning house that day, and we had came in, fixed dinner, And I was sitting at the kitchen table smoking a cigarette. My daughter went to the door, and Joe Robinson, who was the policeman that came to the house, and I knew him for 30 years, he said, "I'm going to show you this picture. And Linda, tell me if you know who this person is." And I said, "It's me." He said, "No." He said, "I told them they were wrong." He said, "I've known you 30 years. I said, "Joe, what's the sense of me lying? I could sit here and lie all day to you, and fingerprints don't lie." I said, "You'd know it as soon as you took my fingerprints."
What did you say to your children?
I told them. And they said, "Mom, we're behind you 100% because we know you didn't do it." I told them that back in 1970, I was accused and convicted then of killing my my second husband.
What did they say?
They said, "We don't believe it. We know you didn't do it." And my husband said the same thing.
Were you surprised that you were an escaped prisoner for so long? Did it surprise you?
Mm-hmm.
And now?
And now, all I can do is try my best to work my way out legally, walking out the front door.
I've never heard a story of somebody who's been on the run for 35 years. I've never heard anything quite like it.
Linda Darby will probably die in this prison. But unlike the other women here, she has memories of 35 years of freedom. I'm back at Indiana Women's Prison. I'm here to see one inmate whose story I had found particularly disturbing. Cindy White has the unenviable record of being the longest-serving female prisoner in the state of Indiana. Release for her is unlikely. At the start of her sentence, she was a teenager. She's appealed against that sentence again and again.
Cindy White was in court again today, and her attorney asked the judge for just one thing.
That the court consider whether she was competent to stand trial at the time that she went to trial in 1976.
But the Johnson County prosecutor says Cindy White deserves to be in just one place.
In prison for the murder of a number of people.
6 people, Charles and Carol Robertson, with 4 of their children, who all burned in a fire that White set more than 20 years ago in this Greenwood neighborhood.
I set the fire. It wasn't to kill anybody, it was to ask, my way of asking for help.
But White now says that she was not fit to stand trial back in 1976. She claims that she had been traumatized by years of sexual abuse by her father and even by the people she eventually murdered. Today, Cindy White hopes that a judge will overturn her murder convictions.
None of her appeals has been successful. Her last was about 10 years ago.
Remember my extended family I said that I have created in here?
About that, yeah.
Well, this lady right here that's needle pointing, this is my daughter Evie.
All right. Hello, Evie.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, how are you?
Has she taught you a lot?
Yes.
Yeah.
She's probably the strongest woman I've ever met.
Really? Why do you say that?
Because I can't imagine being faced with what she's been faced with and staying as strong as she is.
Having been here for such a long time.
Yes. And I love her.
Here, it's kind of like you see what you get. We've all been kind of in the same boat, hurt, disappointed, despair. So when you can reach out to someone that's walked in your shoes, then it makes it easier.
So which is your
I'm in
space?
the bottom one, the messy one. Welcome to my home.
Wow. Home which is shared with...
Yes, this is my bunkie. Would you introduce yourself?
Hello.
Cheyenne Pennington.
Hello.
And we get along really well. I'm mama to her, she says.
It's another member of your extended family.
Yes, I get them without even realize I have them.
And which is your bunk?
This is my bunk. This is where I am secluded in. I come in, and when I don't want to be bothered with somebody or just alone, I will pull out and get down there and hide for just a little bit.
You must have seen people come and go here over the years.
Yeah, this unit, there's a lot of ins and outs, what we call. They finish their time and they go home. And I really don't deal with them too much because, well, it hurts.
Because you see people who come here, you get to know them, and then they leave and you stay.
Yeah, and it hurts. I'm not going to say it doesn't. Because I really wanted to have that hope of going home. But as it is now, I know what's for real, and I had to be in reality. I can't hope on false hopes.
But it's a recurring hurt because you see people come and go constantly.
I'm excited to see them go home because I know that they're going to be doing something that I can't do. And that is be with their family. But I have made a family in here to take away the pain.
Why do they keep you? Why, in your mind, have they decided to keep you in these conditions?
I don't know. That's a question I ask all the time is, what is it that I am not doing? You know, if they tell me what it is that I can do to say, okay, yes, you can go, I'll be more than happy to. I'll be more than happy to do it.
You've been up for parole?
I've been up several times, and each time I'm refused. And I finally got tired because the disappointment. When I go up before him, I'm like, yes, this year I'm going home. I just know it. There's no other way. But I'm tired of doing that. And I'm tired of getting my feelings hurt. And I figured this way, if they haven't let me go in the 37 years that I have tried to go, they're never going to let me go. So I've got to make do with what I have and make the best of it.
How have you survived this for so many years?
I tried to find somebody worse off than me. I tried to find someone that needs a kind word, that needs a hug, that needs to be shown that they care. I need to care for something or someone. I want to love. I want to be loved.
It's a kind of escape from which there is, in fact, no escape.
Yeah. It's just that you find that thing that makes you want to say, okay, I'm going to be okay today, and hold on to it.
However you mentally come to terms with it, it's a very difficult adjustment to make.
I want something to show for my life, other than a DOC number.
A prison record number.
Right. And right now, I don't have it. There's nothing out there that says Sarah Cindy White exists, other than the number.
I'm on my way again to the Rockville Correctional Facility. For the last time. Of the litany of crimes you hear about in this prison, perhaps the most shocking is that of a mother who kills her child. I'd come to see an inmate I'd met before. Dawn Hopkins is now looking forward to her release. She had been forced to give up her first 2 children because she'd abused them. But in 2001, she was convicted of killing her 3rd child, 3-month-old Noah.
How often do you reflect on the chain of circumstances which actually got you here?
Sometimes it just sneaks up on you like that and you don't even realize it, and you're happy and then you realize that you're sad, you know, and it's something that maybe it's a song that played or something that somebody said, or last weekend was Mother's Day and somebody wished me a happy Mother's Day and it was not good. It just brings all of that back.
Your son was only 3 months old. The realization that you took the life of someone to whom you gave birth must be probably the most horrendous thing of all.
Absolutely. You know, I can still remember when I found out I was pregnant. You know, I was 6 weeks pregnant and they did this ultrasound and there was this little life and, you know, they told me he was like 1.5 inches long. And at that moment, you could see his heartbeat, and I promised at that moment to keep him safe forever. And I didn't. And that makes me feel like a monster. And it makes me feel like I don't even deserve to be alive some days.
As an educated person, you must go through a lot of self-analysis. You must look back and try to analyze your actions.
I honestly don't even have an answer for you. I don't know. I struggled with postpartum depression after the birth of my son. I was seeing a psychologist regularly. I was actually in his office the day that I took the life of my son. It was a normal everyday day. I had been to the craft store to buy a Christmas stocking for him. It was right before Halloween, and I sat, you know, working on the little felt pieces for this stocking for him for his first Christmas, and, you know, it was just him and I that day, and I don't know. He was fussy because he was had a cold, and I don't know. I lost my temper. And I should have been better than that.
Was that a moment of blind rage?
In a moment, life changed, you know. I was sitting on the couch, feeding him, giving him a bottle, and talking to my mom on the phone, watching The Simpsons. And 15 minutes later, I was on the phone to the paramedics, getting instructions on doing CPR, because he wasn't breathing.
Wow. Gosh, that's a terrible moment.
Life happens in a moment, you know, and you take life for granted. You never realize what moment it's going to be that your life is going to change forever.
What did you do when you discovered your son wasn't breathing?
I called the paramedic. I called 911, talked to the paramedics, began performing CPR until a police officer came in and took over CPR. Then the paramedics got there. We all went in an ambulance to the hospital. They called in saying that they had a child coming in with unresponsive. So they had a chaplain there waiting to talk to me when I got there. And they were able to get his heart beating again, but due to the brain damage, he was not breathing on his own. So
he suffered brain damage?
Yes. He died from shaken baby syndrome.
How quickly did they blame you for your son's death?
But they didn't blame me. I was honest with them. I told them exactly what happened as much as I could remember, because at that point, all I wanted to do was save his life if possible, and it didn't matter what happened to me.
Going through that long process of being in police custody, that must have been pretty traumatic, knowing what had happened.
There were death threats made against me, and...
Why people thought you were you were a child killer. A
Yes.
mother who kills her child is probably held up as one of the most
Yes, the
horrific
most
people.
contemptuous in our society. I mean, the most contemptuous would be a sex offender, you know, somebody that's a pedophile. Other than that, you're baby killers.
So you were classed as a baby killer?
I was that, I am that. I'm a lot more than that as well, but that's who I am.
I eventually took my leave of Indiana and the many women behind bars in this state. The thoughts that stay with me are of horrendous crimes and the staggeringly long sentences. The thoughts, too, of wasted lives and the families left behind.